Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Urban EDC Supply exclusive Lundquist Baby Barlow. It's a top flipper is what I'm going to call it. That's how you deploy it, is this little ridge up here. There should be a pre-order. It's actually easier to do than I'm displaying right there, but I'm working with an angle and not a lot of space right here. There's a pre-order available, I believe, at the time of this recording. Hopefully by the time you guys are seeing it, it's still there. I will link it down below so you guys can check it out. Thanks so much to Urban EDC Supply for sending this for review. I'm not going to keep it. It is going on to the next reviewer, but I appreciate that anyway. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and do some measurements here, because this is a teeny tiny little knife. Right, hence the name Baby in the Barlow. Overall length is coming in at 5 inches. Blade length is coming in at, boy, 2 1/8. Cutting edge is coming in at a little teeny tiny bit over. It's like 2 1/16. So for legality, I mean, if you can't carry a knife that is locking, this won't work for you because it does lock. But yeah, you don't have to worry about a lot of blade loss with this thing. So a lot of people are going to be happy with that. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? You can see here, it's little. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Oh, look at that. The first appearance with the titanium scales. And its little brother, the Spyderco Para 3. Also, good example of how small it is. And last but not least, even though this is probably overkill at this point, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. Okay, we've established that it is small, like a baby. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here it is surprisingly thick, but not thicker than the Para 3. So is it really thick? I mean, look at the shape of this, right? How about length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3? Yeah, not going to be much of a problem in the pocket. It does have a clip, which is good. It's really not tall, not long, right? It's not going to be, it's more likely you'll forget that it's there. How about we do blade stock thickness? Let's go ahead and get out my calipers, which of course have completely escaped my view. There they are. Golly. I need to put I need to paint these like neon green. Let's zero this out. I'm going to guess that's a pretty thin blade stock. Can I get at it right here? Yeah. Very, very thin blade stock, as to be expected. This version, I believe, it looks like micarta. They have different versions. They have basic versions in G10 with a different color inlay here for contrast. And those come in at a certain price, which we'll talk about. Then they have a slightly more expensive version in micarta with a G10 inlay, and then they have the most premium one in titanium. All of them sport the same blade steel, which is M390. These are not made in the United States. I don't know who the OEM is, but definitely not made in the United States, so do with that information what you will. That's what we're looking at for materials, manufacturing, things like that. Let's go ahead and weigh it. Wow, I bet it doesn't weigh very much. Nope. 1.48 ounces. Okay, good ratios, all that. I think once you get past a certain point, you know, for size, it's just like, does it need to be argued about? Sorry, I missed that again. But anyways, how about a hardware check? Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description in the section that talks about my tools. I'm going to guess that pivot is a T8. Oh, it's bigger. They decided to put a T10 pivot on that thing. All right, okay, that's cool. Captive pivot as well. We have, I believe those are T8 though, down there. Yeah, and then underneath, it actually looks like they are T8 under there as well. This is not going to be difficult to take apart, and they're using nice large fasteners, or large head size fasteners. So that's great. Thank you very much for doing that. I hate teeny tiny fasteners, and on a little knife like this, it just makes me feel better about taking it apart if I had to. Okay, did we get through all of that? I think we did. So yeah, this is a little teeny tiny knife, right? This is obviously not a knife, right? If you're like, well, I only equate value to potential capability, right? Say a lot of the people saying that are people who just collect knives and they just sit there and look at them like me. Now, some people definitely do take their knives out and use them, right? And if you work outside or you require a larger knife, obviously, without having to say anything, you're not going to see a lot of value in this, right? But it probably wasn't made for you. It's not like they were like, we need to make an ultra capable knife that's, it needs to be able to baton. It needs to be able to fold, but it needs to be able to baton. And you need to dig holes with it, build a tent with it, scale a building with it, pry open the door of a bomb shelter with it. All right, let's get to work. Whoops! We made this. No, they knew what they were doing. They made it intentionally, all right? The knife was designed to be a small EDC knife that is a good choice for regular day-to-day stuff, right? If you just need a knife to open packages, you work in an office, or you want to not put yourself in a position where you're, look at me with my knife, right? I mean, yeah, there are people who appreciate a smaller knife. Obviously, that's who they were making this for. So, it depends on where you put the whole value thing. Reducing it to just the materials also doesn't make sense either. That's an argument that I have made multiple times. This is targeting a very specific group of people who want to carry something minimalist and small, but also kind of fancy and appreciate some of these, nicer materials like M390, or maybe they want to go with titanium, right? So, before you type me up a paragraph about value, consider the perspective you're coming from. Right? Unfortunately, we live in a knife world where there's enough for everybody. There are designs for everybody. This just happens to be a smaller one. That being said, it is very small. Now, most of the time, you're not going to be gripping it like this. So my usual thing about I can't get a full 4-finger grip on this, how often am I going to be holding it like this, right? I mean, that's the truth with a lot of small knives. Probably going to be holding it like this, which is nice. Those are the only traction lines are right here. They know that. That's how you're going to be holding it when you open packages or whatever, right? I like the blade on this guy. I honestly can't remember if they come in different blade shapes. I feel like they do. Maybe they don't. But I do like this. I mean, like for a smaller, just general EDC knife that's not going to be doing too much. This is just about a perfect blade shape. You want to do some draw cuts, you can, but it's got a little bit of belly so you can slice with it. You do need to be careful about where you put your index finger because this is just a straight line. There's no guard. You could easily run your finger up on the very, very thin edge. That is a very thin edge. You can see there it comes down nice and thin. So yeah, it's going to slice. The grind is good too. And I like that they added this little fuller right there. It's just nice. They didn't have to do that, but they did, right? It just looks nice. There's a little bit of a flat. Most of this is just dropping straight down from almost the spine down to the cutting edge. And with this being a sheep's foot blade, there's not really a tip, but there kind of is, right? Fit and finish on this guy looks great. In fact, everything here is indicative of, whoever the OEM is did a really good job. It's funny how easy it is, right? I know that people, well, you've had difficulties with it twice. I think no matter how well made something is or how precise something is, the fact that if it's really small, you're just going to be working around that. But the funny thing is it's actually pretty easy to deploy reliably. I would say a good 95% of the time. My only gripe is that it is the only way to open it. So you will have to adapt to this, but you will, right? In Disengagement, this is one of those knives that does not have, to keep the aesthetic of this, they did not cut this area out, but they did carve little areas right here out so you still could approach it from the side. I hate knives that just leave this like flat area. It's just a 90-degree angle right here, and there's no way to get in here without pushing your finger down first and then over, which causes you to pinch that little bit of dead skin on your finger between the countersunk liner lock and the scales. Oh no, the dead skin on my finger has been pinched. Oh, woe is me. I know that's a dumb thing to complain about, right? But it's obnoxious. They didn't do that here. They cut this area out just enough, right? So that's good. I appreciate that. But ergonomically, yeah, there's no way. I mean, like, they went for the aesthetic and the size thing over ergonomic comfort. So is it comfortable to hold in this position? Well, yeah, in the same way that it is to hold half of a key fob. I'm trying to think of an object that's similar, right? Something like this, little, yeah, it's almost like a USB stick, but thicker, right? So, yeah, I mean, for the one way that you're probably going to hold it, or like this, it's pretty comfortable. And they have contoured all these areas, like heavily. It's very rounded right here. This looks like it might be textured. It's not, which is fine. But yeah, they did a good job. There's not really a way to, I mean, it is what it is. It's a tiny knife, right? There's no lanyard hole. Oh no. Moving on. We have a deep carry pocket clip, and it's a good clip. It's simple, carries deep. The only thing you're going to see is the pocket clip. Goes down, slight swoop, continuous ramp. Pretty easy to get in and out of the pocket. The biggest problem with something like this is something I mentioned earlier. It's so tiny, you are likely to forget about it unless you almost exclusively carry tiny knives. This makes for an excellent, if you work in kind of you keep a box cutter in your desk? Oh, do you have a criminal past? If you work in that kind of office, something like this is a little bit, it's like I still want to carry a knife, but I can't carry my Cold Steel Espada XL, right, while I'm giving my presentation. This is a little bit easier because the only thing you're going to see is the clip. It looks like a pen. You could honestly put it in your shirt pocket, right? It also makes a good travel knife. If you travel across the country, you also should not be carrying a Cold Steel Espada XL. People, lone wolf and risk taker, it's probably not the right risk to take, but okay, do your own thing. This is the type of knife that I would feel a lot more comfortable traveling with. Now, if you live outside the United States, I don't know everybody's laws, right? So, can you still front flip it with your thumb? Yes, you can. There's not quite, I'm not super secure. I'm cat's pawing it and doing this, but to me, it's easier to grab it like this and top flip it. Your finger will wear out. About 10 flips like that, you're going to start to feel a lot of pressure right at the tip. Oh no! But you will, right? No matter how seasoned and calloused and muscular your index finger is, it will wear out doing this. So there's fidget factor there, but it is finite quickly, right? But it's kind of neat, right? It's just like a little teeny tiny object like this that's able to be manipulated so easily. Yeah, there's a little bit of joy there. Lockup. What are we looking at here? So the stop pin, and by the way, it's running on bearings. The stop pin is actually fixed in place. Can we see? Yeah, there's the bar right there. If we can see through it. There's the bar. It's fixed in place. It does not follow the blade, which is fine. Locks out completely and totally. Look at this. I am wrenching on this thing, right? Any flex you're seeing is just from the scales. There is no wiggle. There's no click, right? Smoothness, it's okay. This knife is not going to drop shut. It's consistent, but it's not like, oh my gosh, glass, right? But it does the trick. The detent is good, obviously. The detent's where it's supposed to be. There's no way you're going to shake this thing out because it's just, truthfully, it's just too tiny, right? What's weird is I can feel this little area right there, and that's actually the tang where the lock bar sits, just barely. If I run my finger over it, it's actually still flush, but I think it should be cut a little more shallow. Not that big of a deal. Oh no, it touches my finger. I don't know if I really need to be complaining about that, but just so you know, it's there. Little barrel spacer right here. It's kind of neat. Nice little touch there. I don't know if it's, why do I think that it glows? Am I stupid? There's no way. I'm just being stupid. Yeah. No. Sorry for wasting your time. Just a barrel spacer. But it works. That's all it needs, right? The liner is only on one side. I will show you guys the inside. The liner is just on one side. So this entire side is, I think, this looks like G10. And then we have the countersunk liner lock on this side. And I believe that is steel. We will check that here real quick. No, I'm sorry. That's titanium. So that's kind of cool. Is the pocket clip also? Yeah. So this is titanium, G10 and G10, and steel, M390 steel for the blade. They have, of course, the micarta versions and the titanium version. So how much does this cost? That's what it comes down to. Great, it's a little tiny knife, but let's talk about what it costs. The G10 and G10 versions, as I believe you're seeing here, come in at $199. The micarta and G10 versions, for whatever reason, come in at $229, and then the titanium versions, a little more understandably, come in at about $240. I think that's still high. I can still look at this and go, I'm not going to reduce it in value just because it's small. I understand that people will not be able to help themselves. If you're watching this video and you're thinking, I get that. Look down there. Look at there's comments down there right now. I can't pay big money for small knife, right? Like, that's just, people do that, right? And that's okay. If your value system is like that, then that's your value system. If it's been working out for you, then go buy a bigger knife, with the materials that you want. But everybody's value system is different. That being said, if we're looking at knives made of this caliber, right? Size does not play a role in it. If we're looking at knives of this caliber and with these materials, right? But you have to consider, manufacturing costs and stuff like that. It's not just materials. It's overall quality, finished product, right? There are knives made nicer that cost less money, definitely. So if we're talking competition, I don't understand where they got these prices from. I think that the G10 version would have been just fine at about $160. The micarta, you want to charge $180. Okay, I don't really get that, right? We live in a world where we just seem to be ready to pay a little more for micarta. Maybe it does cost a little more, I don't know. And the titanium one, something around $200, would have made a lot more sense to me. Now, some people are going to say, I wouldn't pay more than $40 for that. That's fine, right? Everybody in an infinite number of circumstances will pay more or less for any different type of enthusiast-based object. We are in an enthusiast, world here, right? So that's where my ideas are coming from. This is a nice knife, and I think if you really love small knives and you kind of like almost like in a novelty sense, and there's a place for them, or you just appreciate, little tiny things that are easy to manipulate, that are made in a way that's really, really nice, and you're a knife person who appreciates, some of the more premium materials like M390, then yeah, you'll probably like this, and it might feel like, I'm going to say, even for those people, you're still going to feel the sting of overpaying. It's still going to be there. There's no way around that. If you're going to buy this, my honest opinion is that you are going to overpay for it. But not like, you don't have to listen to those people who are like, that shouldn't cost more than $50. You can just, no. That's not, there's no way for anybody to make money off of any of this stuff if that's the way that it would work. That's just somebody yelling words and not knowing exactly, what's all involved with bringing this thing from materials to, the market and, attempting to, sell it to somebody who's interested in it. Boy, that sounded really preachy. I don't know all the details to that either. I'm not a professional, but yelling that it shouldn't be more than $50 is kind of just hot air, right? That doesn't really mean anything. It's just a small object, so it's going to invite those types of comments. So yeah, it's definitely not for everybody. This is very targeted, but then again, it's a limited release. It's an exclusive. They obviously knew that, right? There's not a whole lot of them. They have done these in the past, and they were a little bit less expensive in the past. I think it was a clip point. Maybe there's still a clip point, but there was another version of this in the past that, was available, and it was a little bit less money. I think maybe price it's just, we're seeing it across the board, but even still, it's just a little too high. If you like this, it's made well, it's made out of nice materials, and it's going to function and do exactly what it was designed to do. But you're going to be overpaying for it. For everybody else, it's way too specific of a knife to recommend it to everybody, but it is nice. That's honestly all I can say about it. If you want to check it out, there's a link right down in the description. In any case, I do appreciate Urban EDC Supply sending this to me for review. This will go on to the next reviewer, and you will, I'm sure, continue to see this on other channels. That's going to be pretty much it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.